Right, Anna. So let's start. Let's continue. Okay, I think we are done with material variances in the last class. Now let's go with labor now. Labor variances. Okay, now, so what we're going to do with respect to labor variance is that first we will write without idle time. Okay, how the entire labor variances will look like without idle time. Then we're going to write it with idle time. Are you able to get me? You got this? Let's see how it looks like. So labor cost variance will be divided into two. So hereafter, as I told you, the formulas are going to be same. So labor rate variance and labor efficiency variance. As usual, if there is only one type of labor, you will stop at efficiency variance. If you are getting multiple types of labor, then what will happen? This labor efficiency variance will be divided into labor mix variance and labor yield variance. This efficiency variance will be divided into labor mix variance and labor yield variance. Labor mix can also be called as labor gang variance. There is another name for that. It is also referred as gang variance. Okay, the logic remains the same. Till here, if there is only one labor, multiple labor means the whole thing will come. Now, by this time, you guys already know the formula. So, can you please tell me the formula now? 1 minus 2. Okay, 3 minus 2. 1 minus 3. 4 minus 3. 1 minus 4. Are you able to understand? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So first one is SH into SR per hour. See, the only difference is there it is SQ into SP. There it is quantity and price. Here it's going to be hours and rate. Okay, SH into SR per hour. Next. AH into AR per hour. Okay, next. AH into SR per hour. Next. RAH into SR per hour. Are you able to get me? Right? The logic remains same and everything is same. Now, for example, if you look at the explanation part, SH is equal to standard hours required for actual output. In other words, number of hours allowed. So it is pretty much similar to what we have seen in material variance only. Instead of quantity, here we have hours. Are you able to understand? Except that everything else is same. So there it is standard quantity required for actual output. Here it is standard hours required for actual output. Correct? So everything else is going to remain what? Same. Isn't it? Right. So standard rate is equal to this. As you know, it is standard rate. Then we have actual hours. I hope you guys know what is actual hours. It is similar to actual quantity, which is actual hours consumed for actual output. It is actual hours consumed for actual output. You got this? Yes, right. Then RAH, it's pretty much the same concept. Instead of quantity, we have got hours only. So this is revised actual hours. So that is nothing but actual hours rewritten in standard mix. You got this? Chalo, that's it. As you know, pretty much everything is the same. Okay, even the logics are also same. For example, let's take rate variance. What is the logic? Rate will change, and instead of R's quantity, I mean their quantity remain constant. Here R's will remain constant. So it is a difference between SR and AR, two rates, and R's will remain constant. When it comes to R's, you have got two R's. One is standard R's, the other one is actual R's. Which will remain constant? Actual R's will remain constant. As I told you the logic earlier itself. When it comes to quantity, actual quantity will remain constant. Applying the same logic here, actual hours will remain constant. So exactly the same. The only difference is there it is quantity, here it is, there it is price, here it is rate. There it is quantity, here it is hours. Except that everything else is same. Now labor efficiency variance, it's all about number of hours that you have consumed, right? So same stuff, difference between hours, standard hours and actual hours, and rate has to remain constant. What rate will remain constant? Similar to standard price being constant in the material variance, here standard rate will remain constant. So it will be SH minus AH, difference between hours, into standard rate remaining constant. Or you will understand, even mix variance remains the same, even yield variance remains the same. Applies the same logic. Instead of gold and copper, here you just presume them as labor 1 and labor 2, and they are taking these many hours. Are you able to understand? Everything else is exactly the same. The logic applies exactly the same. Are you able to get me? So anyway, so that's the point over here. Now this is without idle time. And with respect to logic, everything is the same except that in material, we had a price. Here in labor, we have rate. Here we had quantity. Here we had hours. Except this difference, everything else is exactly the same concepts and the formula. Chalo. Now we are done with labor variances without idle time. Now let's see what's going to happen with idle time. Now with idle time, if I have to put the formula, so first you need to understand one thing. Number of hours paid is equal to number of hours worked plus idle hours. If you have understood this particular equation, problem is over. Which means you will be able to easily put down the labor variances with idle time. So number of hours paid is equal to number of hours worked plus idle hours. In other words, hours paid is equal to hours worked plus idle hours. So just remember this equation. It's enough. Okay, based on this equation only, everything is going to work when it comes to with idle time. Let's see how it works. So labor cost variance, okay, divided into labor rate variance and labor efficiency variance. Labor efficiency variance is further divided into, okay, labor idle time variance, okay, and labor revised efficiency variance. What is the name here? Labor revised efficiency variance. You got this? Now labor revised efficiency variance will be further divided into labor mix variance and labor yield variance. You got this? This is how it's going to work. Now let's have a look into the formula so that you'll get better idea. So see this 1 minus 2, 3 minus 2, 1 minus 3. Here it is idle hours into standard rate per hour. That is the formula for idle time variance. Here again it is 1 minus 3 and 4 minus 3 and 1 minus 4. Now some of you might be getting doubt obviously. Sir, what is this? Here we have 1 minus 3. Here we have 1 minus 3. How is this gonna work? Right, very simple. Once I write the formula, you'll be able to understand. Now see it. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna add one more, which I'm gonna call it as 3 dash and 4. Now you see how it's gonna work. First one, SH into SR per hour. You know what it is. SH means standard hours required for actual output. Second one, AH into AR per hour. Third one, AH into SR per hour. Here also AH into SR per hour. And here RAH into SR per hour. These formulas already we know, correct? So what's gonna be the difference? Well, I'm gonna put the difference over here. This is actual hours paid and this is actual hours worked. And here also this is actual hours worked and this is actual hours paid as well. So that is the difference. How, sir? Very simple. Here we'll be getting hours paid. Let me write it with another color. Okay, here we talk about hours paid. From hours paid, once you have reduced idle hours, what will be left over here? Hours worked only, na? So which means here it will be hours worked. So the logic is hours worked plus idle hours is equal to hours paid, correct? Hours worked plus idle hours is equal to hours paid. That's how the logic comes. So therefore, I should call this formula as 3 dash here. Here also it is 3 dash. Why it is 3 dash? 3 dash means you should be taking actual hours work. The logic is very simple. From hours paid, once you have removed idle hours, what will be left over is hours worked. From this only you are getting further classification. So here also hours worked. Here also hours worked. Are you able to understand? The logic is very simple. You got this? So when you will be using this entire classification, pretty simple. The moment you read the question, in the question you have found that there is idle hours and you have also found that there is multiple labor. So multiple labor. So when you have idle hours, okay, and also you have multiple labor like men, women, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 labor, skilled labor, unskilled labor, semi-skilled labor, something like that. Okay, then you will be getting all these things. Are you able to get me? Yes. So the point is pretty simple over here. I hope this is clear. So the only difference is because of this equation. If you know this equation, this entire thing will be very simple. Hours paid is equal to hours work plus idle hours. That's what we have got here. Okay, you got this? So this is hours paid. You remove the idle hours. What will be left over is hours worked, which is 3 dash. And from that you are doing further classification. Therefore, these two also will be 3 dash. Therefore, revised actual hours worked it is. Got it? All of you. Chalo. When I am teaching all these concepts, it's a basic rule that you have to write simultaneously. There is no doubt in that. When I am writing, you need to write. That's it. There is no exception here. There is no question for laziness over here. Thinking that not writing will save your time is the best foolishness that you can find in this entire world. I'm telling you that. If you think that writing is a waste of time, especially writing notes when the class is going on, and you think that as a result you're saving time, and as a result you're going to read something else, then you are the stupidest person in this world. Let me be very frank over here, because there is, as a teacher, I should not lie to you. Are you able to understand? As a teacher, it's my job to tell you what is right and what is wrong. Thinking that not writing notes is going to save your time is the stupidest thing that you can ever do. Are you able to understand? Only if you write, then only you'll remember. It's not about studying. Please try to understand. 99% of the CA students, they study. It's not because they don't study that they fail. It's because they can't remember. That's why they fail. Please try to understand this basic logic. And why you don't remember is because of all these shortcuts and all these laziness factors. Are you able to understand? So you have to prepare in such a way that you should remember. That's the important part. Today, if you are studying, after 4 months, you should be able to remember this. And that's why you have to write notes. Still, if you think that, not writing notes, now I'm more intelligent than you. I know what is right and what is wrong. I've come to CA final. Then I'm more intelligent. I know you need not advise me, means it's your wish. You can do whatever you want. Are you able to understand? Got this? So based on my understanding, I know this. Repeatedly, I've been telling the same thing. And again, if you are of the opinion that not writing notes is going to save your time, then God help you. That's it. Are you able to understand? See, certain things we can say once or twice. Multiple times I cannot tell you. 90% of the students of this are of this opinion only. They feel that if they don't write notes, it's going to save their time. And that's the reason, things are going to be, very difficult at the end. Not only, any ranker you take, just point out me one ranker who has not maintained his own notes. And even point out me those who have got all India first rank in civil services, who has got the service without writing their own notes. All these guys are idiots. So they are preparing notes despite thinking that their time is getting wasted, and still they're bagging ranks and getting civil services top post or all India ranks in CA. So they are idiots and you guys are intelligent, isn't it? Does it make any sense? Ask any ranker and tell me who has not written notes thinking that it will be a time waste, and then we'll discuss about everything else. You got the point? You got it? Sometimes when you are not as experienced as us, we have been into the teaching career since 10 years and I have seen thousands of students and thousands of attempts and thousands of results. Are you able to understand? So obviously you can give the benefit of doubt to us. Are you able to understand? So the logic is very simple. Write notes, ensure that you remember till you write the examination, you will clear the exam. Are you able to understand? Chalo, as simple as that. Let's move on to the next one. After labor cost variance, what is the next one? Overhead variances. In overhead variances, the first one that we're going to write is variable overhead variance. So variable overhead cost variance will be divided into 2. Okay, variable overhead expenditure variance, and the other one is variable overhead efficiency variance. Okay, expenditure and efficiency. The formulas are going to remain same. So many times you have seen 1 minus 2, 3 minus 2, and 1 minus 3. You got the point? Now, one thing that you need to understand, the moment you come to overhead variances, whether it is variable overheads or fixed overheads, one thing that you have to do is find out SR per hour and SR per unit. This is compulsory. Now, sometimes this will be given in the question. Sometimes you need to calculate yourself. Nevertheless, whether it is given in the question or you have to do it yourself, first you put it over there. If it is given in the question, then copy paste the numbers over here and then do the rest of the variance calculation. If it is not given in the question, then you calculate by putting the formula. But this is a must step, especially when it comes to overhead variances, both variable overheads as well as fixed overheads. Now, standard rate per hour, budgeted variable overheads divided by budgeted hours. This will be standard rate per hour. Standard rate per unit, budgeted variable overheads divided by budgeted output. You got it? That is the formula. The logic is very simple. You take the budgeted overhead cost, you divide it with hours, you'll get rate per hour. You divide it with units, you get rate per unit. It's pretty simple, right? Chala, now let's put the formula. Now again, this formula is pretty much similar to the labor variances based formula, which means what is the first one? SH into SR per hour. Second one, AH into AR per hour. Third one, AH into SR per hour. I hope this is clear, right? Exactly similar to what? The labor variances formula. But then this formula is based on time. Okay, there is other set of formula for overheads which is based on output. Now you can ask me why, sir? Because overheads are indirect cost basically. So they are like parasites. So they may depend on hours, they may depend on units. It doesn't matter, isn't it? Anything that is a predominant influencing factor, they'll try to depend on that. Are you able to understand? So therefore, we have an alternative formula based on units as well. So what is the formula, sir? Let me put it over here. The alternative formula for this will be AO into SR per unit. Here it will be AO into AR per unit. Here it will be SO into SR per unit. Now, whichever formula that you use, your answer is going to be same. Are you able to understand? How, sir? I'll give you a small example over here. Let's say 1 unit is allowed to take 2 hours to get manufactured. Actual output that you have manufactured is 500 units. Let's say 1 unit is allowed to take 2 hours and the rate per hour is, let's say, 10 rupees. Okay. Now you apply that over here. What is SH? Standard hours required for actual output. Per unit, what is the standard hours, Nana? 2 hours. So standard hours is 2 hours required for actual output. What is actual output? 500 units into standard rate per hour 10. Each unit takes 2 hours. So 500 units will take 1000 hours. So 1000 hours into 10. Correct? Actual output kitna hai? 500 units into standard rate per unit is how much? 1 unit will take 2 hours. Per hour it is 10 rupees, which means per unit it will be 2 hours into 10 rupees per hour, which will be 20. Now if you can see, it's exactly the same. Whether it is this or this, it's exactly the same. That's what I've told you. Are you able to understand? Irrespective of the formula, it's exactly the same. In examination, what you will do is that I will round up the frequently used formula over here. Okay. Okay. This one. This one. Here it will be actual fixed overheads. This is the formula. What do you mean by actual fixed overheads, sir? It means that it is not a formula. Sorry, it's not fixed overheads. It means that it is not a formula, but it will be directly given in the question. That is the logic. So which means whatever I've rounded up here, they represent frequently used formula in the examination when we are solving sums. Not only in examination, but when we are solving here as well. So what you have to do is that when you are solving questions, first you have to apply this for formula 1, this for formula 2, this for formula 3. In case if you are not able to get the answers, then you can go for the alternatives. Are you able to understand? Now, okay, let's try to see all the things over here. I think everything is fine. This is standard hours required for actual output. This is actual output, standard rate per unit, standard rate per hour, actual hours consumed for actual output, actual rate per hour, actual output, actual rate per unit, actual hours, standard rate per hour, everything we know. But one thing is new over here. What is that? SO. SO is equal to standard output per actual hours worked. What is SO? Standard output for actual hours worked. SO is nothing but standard output for actual hours worked. In other words, we can call it as expected output. Say for example, you have worked for suppose some 10 hours, Nana. What is the output that I am expecting from you? I think that you will take 1 hour to manufacture 2 units, which means if you have worked 10 hours, then I'm expecting you to manufacture 20 units. That is nothing but SO. In reality, you would have manufactured more than 20 or less than 20. Are you able to understand? SO means what I am expecting from you. In other words, output based on 100% efficiency. In other words, output based on 100% efficiency. You got the point? So if you are 100% efficient, what will be your output? That is nothing but SO. Got it? Chalo. I hope this is clear. Okay, the logics remains the same, Nana. Expenditure variance means change in rate and number of hours will remain constant. You can just check the formula similar to labor variances. Efficiency variance means change in hours and the rate will remain constant. What rate will remain constant? Standard rate will remain constant. Some of you might be thinking, okay, the logic remains the same. This is nothing but labor rate variance. This is nothing but labor efficiency variance. The logic remains the same. But why there is a question of efficiency when it comes to variable overheads? Because in labor, if there is efficiency, there is a logic. Okay, here what is the logic? So logic behind variable overhead efficiency variance. Okay, very simple. See, variable overheads means it is variable. Variable means what? Varies with output proportionately. And your output is influenced by labor hours and their efficiency. Whose efficiency? Labor efficiency, correct? So therefore, if labor is more efficient, he will manufacture more units, which means more output, which means more variable cost will vary along with the output, which means more variable overheads. If there is less efficiency, then it will be less units, then it will be less variable overhead cost. So that portion of variable overhead cost, which varies due to the change in efficiency of the labor, comes under variable overhead efficiency variance. That is the logic. You got this? Yes? Chalo. Let's move on to the next one. Now we have fixed overhead variances. Okay, now what about fixed overhead variances? Very simple. As usual, first one you need to calculate SR per hour, SR per unit. I said these two steps are compulsory for overhead variances, both variable overheads as well as fixed overheads. So which means what you're gonna have over here? Budgeted fixed overheads divided by budgeted hours. Here it will be budgeted fixed overheads divided by budgeted output. So you apply that, you're gonna get your SR per hour, SR per unit. In case if it is not given in the question, most of the times this will be given in the question itself. Most of the times this will be given in the question itself. So no worries. Now, so first we're gonna have fixed overhead cost variance. Then this fixed overhead cost variance is gonna be divided into two. fixed overhead expenditure, and fixed overhead volume. Okay. Now fixed overhead volume is again divided into 3: capacity, efficiency, and calendar. Capacity, efficiency, and calendar. Okay. So if you apply the formula, so it's going to be 1 minus 2, 3 minus 2, 1 minus 3, 4 minus 3, 1 minus 4, and 5 minus 3. This can be sometimes 4 minus 5 also. I'll explain you when it is 4 minus 3, when it is 4 minus 5. So almost all these formulas are same. 1 minus 2, 3 minus 2, 1 minus 3, 4 minus 3, 1 minus 4. This is the only thing that is new, the calendar variance, which is 5 minus 3. Except that everything is same. Okay, chalo. So let's put the formula in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, first one. SH into SR per hour. Second one. Actual fixed overheads. Third one. Budgeted fixed overheads. Fourth one. Actual hours into standard rate per hour. Last one. Possible fixed overheads. Here there is one more important point that you guys need to understand. Here you have this one, right? Actual hours. Can you please tell me whether it is actual hours worked or actual hours paid? Think and then answer. Is it actual hours worked or actual hours paid? Answer. Think, think, think. Think and then answer. Right, guys. Got the idea? Okay. So this will be actual hours worked. Why? Because only when you work, there will be an output. Only when there is an output, variable cost will be incurred. Without output, variable cost will not be incurred. Therefore, it will be actual hours worked. Right, moving on to the next one. Okay, now let me write alternative formulas for each of this. Standard hours into standard rate per hour can also be, we can use another formula for this, which you already know. Actual output into standard rate per unit, correct? Here we have seen that alternative formula, isn't it? And we know that both these formulas exactly will give you the same answer with proof we have seen with the help of this particular example already. Now, so standard hours into standard rate per hour or actual output into standard rate per unit. Here, actual fixed overheads can also be written as actual hours into actual rate per hour or actual output into actual rate per unit. And budgeted fixed overheads can be written as budgeted hours into standard rate per hour or budgeted output into standard rate per unit. Next, actual hours into standard rate per hour. What is the alternative formula we can have? Standard output into standard rate per unit, which you guys know because here I've shown you the alternative formula as well. Correct? Now, possible fixed overheads can also be called as, can also be written as possible hours into standard rate per hour or budgeted fixed overheads into actual days by budgeted days. You got the point? Now I will round up the frequently used formula. Let's do that. Here it will be this one. Here it will be this one. This one. This one. This one. So whatever I have rounded up, these are all the frequently used formula. Now here again you can have a doubt. Sir, here again we have AH, sir. Is it AHW or AHP? We will answer at the end of the discussion. Chalo. Okay, now these are alternative formulas. The one which I have rounded up are the frequently used formulas that we're gonna use generally. We will try to first use these formulae and then once If you are not able to get the answer with the help of these formula, then we'll be going for the alternative formula, and that's the way we're gonna solve the, what is that question. Anyways, now, first of all, fixed overhead cost variance is divided into expenditure and volume. So what is expenditure? Very simple, 3 minus 2. Difference between budgeted fixed overheads and actual fixed overheads is nothing but expenditure. Nothing much to understand over here. It's very easy. Difference between budgeted and actual is nothing but fixed overhead expenditure variance. Okay, sir, what do you mean by volume variance, sir? This you already know, sir. Right from the beginning we are seeing, sir. What is that, sir? I've told you that there are 3 different types of overheads, isn't it? What are they? Budgeted overheads, absorbed overheads, and actual overheads, isn't it? And I told you the difference between budgeted and observed is nothing but volume. The difference between budgeted and observed is nothing but volume. Or in other words, the difference between budgeted and standard is volume. Here if you can see, this is budgeted, this is actual. What is this? This is nothing but observed. Absorbed fixed overheads. Look at the formula, AO into SR per unit. Are you able to understand? Initially also we have seen, when you have seen the concepts. AO into SR per unit is nothing but AOP into BR per unit. AO is nothing but actual output. SR per unit is nothing but BR per unit. So which is nothing but standard overheads. That's what we have got here. This is nothing but observed or standard overheads. Which one? The first one. So difference between observed and budgeted is nothing but volume, which we already know, right? Okay, apart from that, we have capacity, efficiency, and calendar. What are these things? These are all the 3 things which will influence the volume. That we already know. If capacity increases, your volume will increase. If capacity reduces, your volume will reduce. So it will influence your volume. Same logic goes with efficiency. Efficiency also increases, volume will increase. Efficiency reduces, volume will reduce. So this is a very simple thing and we can understand that. But what about calendar? This is something new. Very simple. See, let's say in a calendar month, your budgeted days were 30, let's put it, budgeted days is equal to 28 days. Which means as per your budget, you thought that you'll be working for 28 days. Are you able to get me? But in reality, you have worked only for 26 days because of some bandh, whatever it is. Now tell me, because of this change, will it affect your volume? Yes. Because you thought you'll be working for 28 days, whereas you worked only for 26 days. Will it affect my volume? Yes. And this is nothing but calendar variance. Change in the number of calendar days that you work in your factory. I hope you understood the logic behind calendar variance. Now the question is the formulas. Very simple. See, when you read the question, look out for calendar information. Sir, what do you mean by calendar information, sir? Means this I've told you, budget days is 25, actual days is equal to 22, this kind of information. If you find this information in the question, then you will get all the variances that you see here and you will get all the 5 formulas. In that case, the formula for capacity will be 4 minus 5. When you get 5, it will be 4 minus 5. Yeah, simple logic. Are you able to get me? Sir, suppose budgeted days and actual days info is not given in the question, sir. In that case, formula 5 will not come. Calendar variance will not come. So you'll get only 4 formula. Then the formula for capacity will be 4 minus 3 instead of 4 minus 5. Why? Because 4 minus 5 I can't apply because 5 is not there. Are you able to understand? 4 minus 5 you can't apply. Why? Because 5 is not there. You got this? I hope this is clear, right? Yes. Chalo. So that's the logic over here. Is that clear, all of you? Right. Again, I repeat. The moment you look at the question, look out for budgeted days and actual days information. If it is there, then you'll get calendar and the formula for capacity will be 4 minus 5 and you'll get all the 5 formula. If this is not there in the question, then there will be no calendar, no formula 5 and there will be only 4 formulas and with efficiency variance only you'll stop and the formula for capacity will be 4 minus 3 instead of 4 minus 5 because there is no 5 to calculate 4 minus 5. Is that clear? Now let's start with the most important discussion. What is that, sir? Okay, now let's come to the most important discussion. What is that, sir? I think you guys should have got a very important doubt. In your inter itself, you should have asked your faculty. I don't know whether you guys have asked or not, or the moment you see this so-called fixed overhead variance calculation, immediately you should have got doubt. What is that doubt, sir? You can see that there is something called fixed overhead volume variance over here. The moment you see that, you should have got a doubt. What do you mean by fixed overhead volume variance? Because of change in volume, fixed overheads will change. That is the basic concept of fixed overhead volume variance. Immediately you should have got doubt. See, the nature of fixed overheads is not that. Fixed overheads means what? That overheads or that cost which remains constant irrespective of the change in volume, which means even if the volume changes, your fixed cost remains constant. When that's the logic, the basic nature of fixed cost, where is the question of fixed overhead volume variance should have been your question. I don't know whether you guys have asked at your inter level, even at final level. I don't think you have asked. Every batch I face the same problem. Now the answer to your question is concept of absorption. Concept of absorption. Sir, what is this concept of absorption, sir? You guys remember we have already discussed the concept of absorption, isn't it? So when we have discussed the concept of absorption, there I told you your actual absorption will happen based on actual output that you produce. In the second column, we had three columns: budgeted overheads, absorbed overheads, and actual overheads. Correct? Once you have got budgeted rate, then budgeted rate or standard rate or absorption rate was multiplied with actual output. You guys remember that? So which means, what do you understand there? More the output, more will be the absorbed fixed overheads. Are you able to understand? Here, when I talk about fixed overhead volume variance, 1 minus 3, here 1 I am talking about absorbed overheads only. So which means, more the volume, more will be the overheads that you will absorb. Still, fixed overheads incurred will remain constant irrespective of the output. Are you able to understand? I am talking about absorbed fixed overheads. That will change because of change in volume. Are you able to understand? You got it? We have already discussed the concept of absorption there. Based on that concept, you should be able to understand very easily how fixed overhead will change because of change in volume. In reality, the incurred fixed overheads is not changing, but the absorbed fixed overheads is changing because of change in volume. So more the production, more will be the absorbed fixed overheads. Less the production, less will be the absorbed fixed overheads. Okay, sir. Fine, sir. Now here comes the most important point, sir. In marginal costing, there is no concept of absorption. This I told you when I taught you the concept of absorption itself. Under absorption costing method only, you have the concept of three types of overheads: budgeted, absorbed, and fixed. But when it comes to marginal costing, that's not the case, isn't it? You have only two types of overheads: budgeted and actual. Sorry, you got the point. Let me put it over here. As per absorption costing, you have three types of overheads: budgeted overheads, absorbed overheads, actual overheads. Okay. As per marginal costing, you've got two types of overheads: budgeted overheads and actual. Because there is no concept of absorption when it comes to marginal costing. There is no need also, because in marginal costing anyway, fixed overheads will be considered irrelevant. Then which means there is no absorbed overheads when it comes to marginal costing. No absorbed overheads means there is no formula 1 when it comes to marginal costing. No formula 1 means there is no 1 minus 3 possible, which means this entire thing is not possible as per marginal costing, which means if you calculate fixed overhead variances as per marginal costing, only expenditure variance will be there. There will be no volume variance. Volume variance will come only as per absorption costing system. This understanding is very important, especially when you are doing reconciliation. Are you able to understand? Again, I repeat. Concept of absorption comes only as per absorption costing system. It doesn't come under marginal costing system. So as per absorption costing system, you'll have three types of overheads: budgeted, absorbed, actual. As per marginal costing system, you'll have only two types of overheads. One is budgeted, the other one is actual. There is no absorbed, which means there is no 1, because 1 is nothing but absorbed overheads. When there is no 1, there is no question of 1 minus 3, which means this whole thing is not possible. Which means as per marginal costing, there will be only one fixed overhead expenditure, that is fixed overhead expenditure variance. I mean, there is only one variance, that is fixed overhead expenditure variance. Only as per absorption costing, you'll get everything. This is very important when you do reconciliation of budget profit with actual profit as per marginal costing and absorption costing. Are you able to understand? Keep this in your mind. Very, very, very important concept. You got this? The notes about all these things I'll give you when I go to the reconciliation part. Right now, just understand the concept. You got this? Chalo. With this, we'll wind up this particular session. In the next session, we'll go with sales variances. We'll finish that off and straight away we'll get into the sums. Okay? Chalo guys.